Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. And tonight we are going to be diving into this story dependency mapping technique that Season and I put together. And, just in case, and if you aren't aware, let me take a moment and introduce Season Hughes. So Season is an agile coach. She's actually a certified associate certified coach from the International Coaching Federation. She's a certified Scrum professional, and boy, this might be the first time. Maybe this is the first time it's ever been said in front of a big group. But she's pursuing her certified Scrum trainer status, which is super exciting. So someday soon, coming to a Scrum training room near you. CST Season Hughes. I've known her for, gosh, I don't even know how many years now. Met her when she was working at Dolby, and all the teams that worked with her just glowed and fawned, and I was like, I got to meet this person. Who is this person? Everybody's just has so much good to say, and I got it right away when I met her. And these days, Season is an independent agile coach, and we have the privilege of working with her. In fact, she's working closely with one of our clients right now. So that's Season.
And if you don't know Chris, they are a CST, Certified Scrum Trainer, Agile Coach, and they refer to themselves as a recovering developer. There's someone who helps organizations improve their productivity, their happiness, and Chris is the founder of Agile Learning Labs and the co-author of not one, but two best-selling books. We've got The Elements of Scrum, and then Scrum, a breathtakingly brief and agile introduction, which, by the way, was my introduction into the world of Agile and Scrum back at Amazon over a decade ago. So Chris, it's your fault that I'm here. If you want more writing from Chris, you can find it on the Agile Learning Labs blog. And Chris used to be a Scrum Master, a product owner, an engineering manager, a project manager, a software engineer, a musician, and an auto mechanic. So
all of these things. All of these things. Yeah. So we're going to dive right in. So here's our scenario. You all together are going to be helping our client. So our client is kind of a big organization. They've got three divisions. They have the cars division, the crops division, and the cities division. And each of these divisions has operations and offices in three geographical locations: North America, Europe, and Asia. And each of the divisions has a development team in each of the geographies. So if you're doing the math, turns out that's 9. And so the teams are preparing for a quarterly planning, sometimes known as PI planning. And the teams are, at the team level, they're doing pretty well, right? They've refined their individual backlogs, and they've even figured out, like, for each of their stories, does that story have any dependencies? And they've gathered all that data together to enable us to, hopefully help them create a plan for the quarter. The problem is, some of these dependencies have dependencies. And so we really need some way to kind of like visualize the larger dependency tree that's at play here. And so your job, right, in your breakout room, we're going to be sending you out to breakout rooms in a little bit, is going to be to build maps that will allow the teams to visualize their dependencies. So that's the setup. Season, what's happening next?
Sure. So before we send you off into your rooms, we are going to show you how this works. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. I'm going to move some things around on my screen so I can see you. And you should be seeing, let's see, do you see the dependency mapping demo on one side and big planning data on the other?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So what we have here, on the right side, I have all of the data that I need to be able to visualize my dependencies on a map. So these teams have already kind of sat down and had conversations about their dependencies. They put them into a list. You can see the different division that the team is in, the name of the team itself, the feature that they are trying to build. They've gone through and they have done a great job already estimating the size of the feature. The product owners have gotten together. They probably took Chris's CSPO class and went ahead and put a value, a business value estimate on each feature as well. And we've calculated what the business value is divided by the size, so the value per points. And here we have the dependencies. So we have internal dependencies where features within a team depend on other features within a team. The other thing we have is sometimes features depend on other teams. They're an external dependency. So we want to pay attention to those. We want to go ahead and map them out here just again so we can see how all of this works in a beautiful diagram and use that for conversations on how we are going to handle dependencies in the upcoming quarter. So we have two initiatives that we are going to demo for you. We have one where we are building the Acrobat Ant feature. Then we have another one, and this is actually one of my favorite flavors of ice cream. We are building bubblegum ice cream. So what'll happen is I will be walking through the big planning data side with all of the data. And then Chris will be here in the actual map, mapping out the dependencies. So how it will work when you're in your breakout rooms is you can have maybe a couple people looking at the data and calling it out like I will be for Chris. And then you can appoint someone or a couple people over here actually doing the mapping, which you can see Chris doing over here. Chris, did I miss anything?
No, that all sounds right.
Perfect.
And we'll be following a set of instructions as we do this, and we will be providing those instructions to you when it's your turn to do it. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to drop a link to the instructions in the chat so that if you want to follow along, you can.
Chris, do you have a preference? Shall we start with the Acrobat Ant or the bubblegum?
Oh, how about the ant?
Ant. Okay, perfect. So I'm flipping over here to the Acrobat Ant dependency map. And then Chris, if you want to take it away and start mapping, I will fill stuff out.
Following the instructions, it says put your name in the map by cell. So this is your team name. So we are the demo team, you and I. And let's see, then it says put the name of the initiative that this item supports next to initiative. And actually, we've already done that. It's the demo initiative. So when you all do it, you'll be mapping items that are required for some other initiatives, and we'll assign initiatives to you as we go. Let's see, put the story being mapped in the field labeled required story. And I think we've actually done this step for you to get you going. And copy and paste arrow icons from the top as needed to indicate dependencies. All right, so we're starting with Acrobat Ant. And this one already has its estimate in there in parentheses. So that's nice. That gets us off to a good start. So Season, what does Acrobat Ant depend on?
Sure, let me do a little Control F magic. So I'm on a PC, I'm doing Control F, but you Mac folks, I believe it is Command F, and I'm going to look for Acrobat Ant. And I found it here under feature names. So I'm going to scroll over and see what dependencies Acrobat Ant has. And it looks like it has one internal dependency within the team on the feature called American Dagger Caterpillar.
Ooh, American, Dagger,
Mm-hmm.
caterpillar. All right. And let's see. Let's chase that one down. Oh, what's the estimate for American Dagger Caterpillar?
Yeah, so I'm gonna find that one here in all data. So we're gonna go here. So they're building the American Dagger Caterpillar feature, and they've estimated that at a 3.
All right, so I'm going to put the estimate there in parentheses next to it in the map. All right, does that have any dependencies?
It does, it has 2. So the American Dagger Caterpillar feature depends on another internal team feature called bees.
Okay, bees, all right, bees. And you said it's got another one?
It does. So it has an external dependency. There's another team working on a feature called Rocky Road.
Ooh, that sounds good to me.
Mhm.
All right. Let us chase down. Oh, I don't know. Rocky Road sounds so yummy. Let's chase that one down next. What's the estimate for Rocky Road?
Yeah. So finding Rocky Road under the feature name, that is an 8.
All right, I'll put that in parentheses right in the same cell. And does Rocky Road have any dependencies?
It has 2 dependencies. So it depends internally on rum raisin. Then it's got an external dependency on blister beetles.
Oh my goodness. RAISIN, is that raisin?
That is.
And an external on blister beetles.
Blister beetles.
Lister, and then BEA. I always get confused between the band.
Not the band. BEE.
LES. Okay. And one of the things I'll call out as I'm doing this is notice that when it's an internal dependency, I'm putting it below the item. And when it's an external dependency, I'm putting it off to the right. And sometimes this will lead to things possibly, colliding or crossing. And you can extend, right? Like if I needed to make more room here, I could move this down and then just put, more of these arrows if I needed them. So I'm just going to call that out as we're going. All right. So goodness, where to go? How about blister beetles? Let's see where that goes.
Checking out blister beetles with 2 E's. That one is estimated at a 5.
Okay. And does it have dependencies?
It does. It depends on the team to make the feature called bed bugs.
All right. That sounds like an internal dependency since it's one bug
sure
on
does.
another. Who named these?
What
All
a thing to depend on.
All right. And is that the only dependency it has?
That is.
All right. Let's go track down the bed bugs.
Let's go get some bed bugs. Okay. Bed bugs are estimated at a size of 8.
All right. And do they have a dependency?
They do not. We have hit the end here.
All right. So we're going to walk up the chain. Rocky Road had a dependency on rum raisin. Let's go chase that one down.
All right. Rum raisin. So I'm finding it over here. It is sized at a 5.
Okay. And does it have any dependencies?
It does not.
Oh, yay. All right. Then let's walk back up the chain. The next one we haven't done is bees.
Bees. All right. Finding bees. They are sized at a 5.
Okay. And did they have any dependencies?
They do. They have an external dependency on rum raisin.
Okay. So there's 2 ways we could do this. It's just like complete happenstance that they line up that I could point it like that. What's more likely to happen to you, though, is that, maybe this duplicated dependency was happening somewhere farther down, right? So let's just say they weren't lined up perfectly. The way I'd represent that is noting it's got this external dependency, but since that dependency exists somewhere else in our map already, right? Something else already depends on it. when I put it in, I'm going to put brackets around it. And what that tells me is, hey, this is a duplicate. This already exists in our map, and we've already chased that dependency all the way down. So we don't have to chase it again. All right. So, and that was the only dependency that bees had. Is that right?
That's the only one.
I think that means we've come to the end of the Acrobat map. We've chased down all the dependency chains until we got to the bottom of each of them. That sound right to you?
Sounds right.
All right. Should we go do the bubble gum?
Let's do bubblegum.
Okay, going back up to the top of the instructions, put the team name in the mapped by cell. All right, we are the demo team. Put the name the initiative supports. It's already there for us, the demo initiative. And we're starting with the required story of bubblegum, which doesn't have its estimate in there. So help me out. What's the estimate for bubblegum?
That one is a 3.
Okay, bubblegum is a 3. And does it have any dependencies?
It does. It has an internal dependency on the feature matcha green tea.
Ooh, how do I spell that? M-A-T...
CHA.
CHA green tea. All right. And is that its only dependency?
It is.
All right. Let's go track that one down.
Cool. So matcha green tea is sized at a 3.
Okay.
And it has an external dependency. We need another team to build the black vine weevil before we can build the matcha green tea ice cream.
Oh my goodness. So it is the black vine weevil, W-E-E-V-I-L.
It sure is.
Oh my goodness. All right. Let's go find that one.
All right. So the black vine weevil, that is sized at a 5. And within the team, they will need to build the bean leaf beetle before they can build the black vine weevil. So it has an internal dependency on the bean leaf beetle.
All right.
B-E-E-T-L-E.
And is that its only dependency?
It is.
All right. And let's go find that one.
Right. The bean leaf beetle is sized at a 5. And it has no dependencies.
Oh, this one was pretty easy. So I think we've completed this map, right?
I think so.
Okay. So at this point, the initiative called Demo Initiative, it has 2 top-level required stories, Acrobat Ant and Bubblegum, right? So this would be the level at which, say, the people who are making the big plans would be like, oh, our initiative, right? This Demo Initiative, we know we need Acrobat Ant, we know we need Bubblegum. The teams have gone out and each team has kind of created their backlog and figured out, well, of the things in their backlogs, what did they depend on? And then what we have just done is looked at the combined data for all the teams. Basically, it's all the teams' backlogs in one view so that we could quickly search through all the teams' backlogs and build these maps to visualize the dependency trees. And so questions at this point before we send you off to try it?
I have a question. So
Yes.
I can see the dependency map, but then what's the next step in the execution?
So the next step is, once we have the maps, is figuring out, which initiatives are actually possible within the 12-week planning cycle that they're trying to build. So there's a follow-on technique that we're going to do called dependency scheduling, basically scheduling the resolution of the dependencies. So first step, we're going to have you build the maps. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about how we use the maps to actually create that bigger plan.
Thanks.
So,
Great
Chris,
question.
it seems to me that compared to traditional program evaluation and review techniques, you kind of compress the amount of data you think you need related to cost. So size encapsulates all the cost issues.
Not necessarily. This one is really just aimed at cost of developing stuff, right? There may be additional costs like licensing and raw materials and all that, depending on what it is we're building. So yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so-
This particular activity and exercise is really geared more towards like trying to build a plan and sanity test the plan for like, is this reasonable that we could do it, say, in a quarter?
yeah, but the thing that you include that often isn't included in normal PERT technique is you include value and value per point.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, your CFO might not be happy about your cost estimate, but your marketing manager might be really happy about you implementing the most valuable things first.
Indeed, indeed. All right, so we're going to send you off. You're going to have 20 minutes. Have a look at that instruction sheet, because basically the cycle you're going to do is your team is going to be assigned one item from one initiative. So for example, if you're on team one, you're going to be working in the alpha initiative. So there'll be a link in the chat here. I'll drop them in now. Now you don't know what team you're on now because I'm mixing up the teams from our, it'll be different than when we were doing the breakouts. But if you're on team one, you'll notice that they're assigned the alpha initiative, and in particular, the Milwaukee story. So you'll open up the alpha initiative doc, and you'll notice that there are tabs, one tab for each story. So if you were on team one, you would click onto the Milwaukee tab, and somebody in your team would also need to open the data document so that between a couple of folks on your team, you could be doing the thing that Susan and I were just doing. So you're probably going to want at least one person in the instructions to walk your team through it. At least one person in the data document, so you can do that Control F, looking up the information on the stories, and one person in the initiative document, alpha, beta, delta, epsilon, or gamma, building your map. So you'll do what Susan and I just demoed to build one map, so just for that one feature, and then you'll pop back here to the main room. And when you pop back to the main room, we are going to assign your team another team's work to check. And so actually, I would recommend just have one person from your team pop back to the main room and let us know, hey, my team's done. And then we will assign you essentially another team to check. All right, welcome back. So you have built your maps. We've mapped all of the stories that are required for all of the initiatives that leadership is considering, pursuing in the coming quarter. Now, the big question is, which of these initiatives are possible? And this is where the dependency scheduling comes in. It's like scheduling the resolution of the dependencies. And so once again, Susan and I are going to demo the approach and then turn you loose to do it. So this approach uses your maps and adds this new little spreadsheet tool, the dependency schedule. Take it away, Susan.
All right. So we have down here are the instructions. So your team will be assigned an initiative to schedule, just like last time. You'll find those in chat. So you want to put the initiative name in the initiative field at the top of the schedule. So I think we'll start with, let's see, what would ours be? It would just be demo initiative.
Yep.
Initiative. Perfect. And then our team name is, we need like a cooler team name, but we'll just do demo team for now. I'm on number 3. So we're going to start by putting each required story for the initiative on the schedule. And we're going to do it by the team doing the work. So all of the work for each team will be in each team's column. And we want to start by scheduling things as late as possible. So we'll be starting down here at the bottom. So we have sized these initiatives. So sometimes, and you can tell by the velocity of the team. So if I had something that was a 3, that might take up the whole sprint. But if I had something that was a 1 or a 2, I could put both of those features here down at the bottom in week 12. They would both fit. So that's what we're talking about here in number 3. So we want to just make sure that we are taking what is here from the required story and scheduling it out for the quarter, starting with the bottom with week 12. So we're going to start with Acrobat Ant, and this time I will be doing the typing and Chris will be calling out the dependencies, and we'll start to schedule them for the quarter and just see if this is feasible within 12 weeks.
All right, so we've got the Acrobat Ant, which is going to be done by the demo bugs team.
Okay.
And by the way, if you're not sure what team something is being worked on by, you can always check back in that data, the big data list that has all of the all of the team's backlogs in them. And Acrobat Ant is 21, and I will make a notion or a comment here, as Season is filling it into multiple sprints, that we're using a notion called planning velocity, and that's not the team's standard velocity, right? If you are trying to do quarterly planning and you try to work with their full velocity and fill that up in the plan, that is not going to go well. And so a good default starting point, in my experience, has actually been about half. So imagine that our ice cream team has a typical velocity of about 6 points a sprint, and our bug team has a typical velocity of 10 points a sprint. But for purposes of longer term planning, we're using a planning velocity. And for the moment, we're using the rule of thumb of cut it in half. Now, it turns out once you run a few quarters, you can compare like, hey, of the stuff that the team planned for in the quarter, how much of the stuff from the plan got done, how many points were associated with the things that got done. And then you can actually get a, like long-term planning velocity for a team. All right, back to you, Season.
Sure. So we have mapped out Acrobat Ant, and that will take about 5 sprints, more like 4 and something, but that is all on the map. So what is it that we need to get done before we can complete Acrobat Ant? Chris, if you could call that out for me.
Internal dependency, so same team, American Dagger Caterpillar, and it's a 3-point.
Okay. 3-pointer. So I could fit that into the week 8, but for right now, I'm just going to map it out simply right here in week 7.
Okay. There is also an internal dependency. So American Dagger Caterpillar depends internally on bees, and bees is a 5-pointer.
5. Okay. Perfect.
All right, going back to American Dagger Caterpillar, it depends on Rocky Road, which is an 8. That's an ice cream story.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and put that one down here. Actually, but I'll need to move it here. Let's see. So it was American Dagger Caterpillar, so it's got to be done before that. So how about week 6?
Yeah, if it finishes there, then definitely we could start the American Dagger Caterpillar the next week. Okay.
Except it's an 8-pointer, so it's going to take 1, 2, 3 weeks here.
Oh, goodness. All right.
Yeah.
That has an internal dependency, so also an ice cream team story on rum raisin, which is a 5.
Okay, so rum raisin. So here's where I might start to plan this out a little bit. So if this is Rocky Road is an 8, so 3, 6, 7, 8, we might be able to fit some of rum raisin in week 4. Just for right now, just for ease of planning, I'm just gonna put them in these weeks. But Chris, do you think we should try to squeeze them in?
Let's see if we need to. Always,
Okay.
always better to have a little, err on the side of a little bit more buffer than not enough in terms of seeing if this is feasible. All right. So that was Rocky Road.
Mhm.
Let's see. Rocky Road has an external dependency on blister beetles. So
Mhm.
blister beetles have to be done before Rocky Road.
Okay, and that one's a 5, so that fits perfectly into week 3.
All right. And then blister beetles depend on bed bugs, which is an 8.
Bed bugs. Okay, so that one's an 8, so that'll take multiple weeks to do. Okay.
And I believe we've done the whole tree for the acrobat ant.
Oh, all right. So that fits very nicely into a 12-week quarter,
Yeah.
with even a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah, but in order to get the demo initiative done, we also need the bubblegum story to be completed.
Oh, right. Okay. How are we going to do this?
Well, so we'll put bubblegum down there at the baseline, the 12-week
Okay.
point for our team.
Mhm.
And it's a 3-pointer.
That's a 3-pointer. Okay.
It has an internal dependency on matcha green tea, which is also a 3-pointer.
Matcha green tea for 3 points. Okay. Do you want to
That
go
has
there?
external dependency on black vine weevil, which is a 5.
Oh, okay. Black vine weevil is a 5. Maybe I'll just put it here for right now.
Yeah.
We need to go back and cram some more stuff in, we can, but giving him some room. Okay.
All right. And that one has an internal dependency, so also a bug team story on the bean leaf beetle, which is also a 5.
Bean leaf beetle. Okay. Leaf beetle, and that is a 5. Okay.
That's
Anything
all.
else?
That's everything for this initiative, because at the highest level, the initiative just requires bubblegum and acrobat ant.
Wow. All right. Looks like something that's totally doable within the quarter.
And it's a little tight, but yeah, it looks like it fits.
Yeah.
How did
So
you
what-
know? How did you know that it was only these 2 teams?
So in the data spreadsheet, like when you look up the stories, the stories are in the backlogs for particular teams.
And you just memorized that for this demo?
Well, for the demo, there's only 2 teams. The other way you know it is, well, you know what the teams are because each team has a column in the schedule. But yeah, you're right. For purposes of this demo, since there were just the 2 teams, it was pretty straightforward to know where it was. So when you do it, you're probably also going to want to have that the data spreadsheet open that has all the teams' backlogs in it. So as you're following the map, you can kind of see, which team do we need to do that item.
That makes sense to me, Chris, because I'm seeing the possibility that something would pass back and forth between 2 teams, and it's always an external dependency, but it's only 2 teams, despite maybe 8 ping pongs.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Season's showing that data spreadsheet. The top level things that we know that we need for an initiative have the initiative name next to them. And we've already set up schedule templates for each initiative. So good news there. Well, for each team, we've set it up. And each team's going to be working on a single initiative. And then based on your maps, you'll start filling things out. And yeah, when you're not sure which team is doing something, you'll look in the big data file to look up that that particular story and see which team is doing that one. So for example, if I said, hey, Season, we've got to put the BRZ on our map, which team do we need to do that?
Let's see. So that is the Asia Cars team.
And so on your schedule, there'll be a column for the Asia Cars team. Good question. Good question. Other questions before we send you off and get you going. All right.
Yeah, I have a question about the Acrobat ants, the five.
And welcome back. Welcome back. Here they come. Here they come. And they're back. Welcome back. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to share my screen. We're going to have a quick peek at each of the maps. And when we're looking at the map that your team did, we'd love to hear just briefly from your team. Does the initiative that you mapped, will it fit? So here we go. So we're going to start out with Team 2. So they were mapping the beta initiative. So Team 2, what'd you come up with? Will the beta initiative fit in our 12 weeks?
So I will speak to it as the typer because I have the random little notes up above. So what we came into, and we don't know fully whether it'll fit yet because we don't think there may be more features we have yet to map. But we started using color coding to keep track of the yellow Turin feature was the first one we did, and it fit nicely. It got just from the bottom perfectly to the top, bouncing through a bunch of different teams. We even, in some cases, stacked multiple stories in a team, or identified the story would be in the first half, second half of the sprint to fit. Then we went to the Milwaukee, which is in green. And if you're noticing, Milwaukee goes up to Madrid before that in sprints 8 and 9, and then to this Euro Cranberries thing, which you're actually seeing in parallel in two teams. It's because it's originally assigned to the EU Crops team and was going to take 11 plus sprints to get done. And he's laughing because he knows that he set this up. And so we talked about how this was either busted or we'd have to move it to another team. Paula fortunately pointed out that there is in the data sheet a price you can pay for a team to learn another thing. So if you look at EU cars in sprint 3, we're cross-training them on how to do the EU crop stuff, and we've split it between the two teams. We also possibly could have had EU cars completely just do this cranberries thing, learn it in sprint 1 and continue it in sprint 2 through 7 and leave EU crops team completely open. We just don't have enough. We haven't flushed out the rest of the map to know exactly how many trade-offs we have to play. The other thing we thought was interesting in hearing it, we started trying to decide, do we map in the EU crops team in that week 3? Do we need to map an activity for them to be training the cars team how to do the cranberries? And at Cranberries, you call it a crop. I think it's a music group, but we can have our own departments here. So
nicely done, Team 2. Give it up for Team 2. Oh my goodness, digging deep and finding the little Easter egg of the cross training stories in there, and then taking good advantage of it. Next up, Team 5. What do you think? Is the Epsilon initiative doable?
Yes, it was doable, and we had a week to spare. So even though we left it like this, we thought we would move it all up so that we start in week 1 and leave buffer at the end if we need it.
Nicely done. Team 6 working on Alpha. What'd you come up with, Team 6?
We just spoke about the quote from Jeff Sutherland that said, "Scrum does not solve your problems, Scrum makes your problems visible." So we use this tool to make it apparent that our feature cannot be completed as planned because of the dependencies, and with European cranberry feature worked on by EU crops team with a small capacity of only 3 points per week. It will take the entire 12 weeks of doing the job. Even if we assume that it will be almost, it will not take the whole week of 12 to complete European cranberry. It will be only a third of a week. And we could probably start working on Madrid, because it doesn't say it's beginning to the end. Maybe we could look for some overlap. We still would not be able to complete this within the quarter. And then there are multiple options on the table, like cross-training, like maybe splitting European cranberry into smaller chunks so that we could go iteratively. If you cannot make it, fake it. So maybe we could come up with some kind of a low granularity model or a simulation, but it requires a conversation, and the tool make it probably visible to start the conversation.
Nicely
you
done.
could
Keep it
use
up.
the
Team 6.
you could use the Elon Musk technique and just tell people they have to work 7 days a week.
I don't think that works as well in Europe as in North America.
Yeah. I don't expect it's actually going to work all that well here, but we will see. Let's see. Team 9 was also looking at Delta. Team 9, what do you think? Oh, actually, yeah. What'd you find? Can this be done?
Well, yes, but we have bad news for the first initiative.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Well, you have to choose between theirs or ours.
Yeah, right. Because the EU cars are kind of the bottleneck for both, right?
Yep.
Nicely done. Nicely done. And Team 7 was doing beta, but got a little turned around on that. So yeah, nicely done. Nicely done. So thoughts, comments, questions? What are your takeaways? What are you still wondering?
I think
Well,
it's go ahead, John.
one of the nice things about being given the impossible task is that, like the Kobayashi Maru incident, it's a test of character as much as it is, right? And so the first thing I hadn't realized how long I had been coming to your events, Chris, because I looked at it and I said, 31 story points. We've never done that. You're not listening to Chris. All right. And half joking, I said, we need to take somebody behind the woodshed and have a little discussion there, right?
Talk a little
Story's too
about
big.
story splittings, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Is it
So-
smalleruserstories.com? Chris, do you own that domain yet?
Smallerstories.com, yes.
That's it.
Yep, smallerstories.com.
Well, so that's the first one, and I'm glad everybody had a little bit of laugh with that. The next thing is we actually came up with a genuinely good idea, which is a lot of the value is expounded in dollars, but our schedules, our story points aren't in any, man hours or some precise element. And so it occurred to me to be consistent, we should have value points.
Actually, it's absolutely what we teach. When we teach value estimating, as a shortcut in this activity, we use dollars just so that people get that it's value. But you're absolutely right, because it turns out when you dive into value, it's a lot more complex than just money. There are multiple dimensions of value. And so, yeah, we actually teach our clients to estimate in value points. You are right on.
Okay.
And who else was it? There was someone else jumping in right with John.
Andrew?
Andrew, what you got?
I think I was just excited about the way our work was interacting. Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
No, just the the intersections of the maps and thinking that if we had the, we had the chance to complete the exercise and then start talking about what are the possible trade-offs, we might find out whether there's another team. We saw that when we found this trade-off feature, I was initially trying to assign it to one of the city's teams because they had the largest capacity. And I thought, this is such a large thing, I need to put it in a very fast team. And as you know, Chris, and others will learn by telling them, those teams do not have the capacity to learn the crops feature whatsoever. Somehow they are completely incapable of understanding anything about crops. and that, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. But so the way it's set up, we had to put it there. But we might find other ways and shapes of trading off, of moving the jigsaw pieces around.
Nice.
So I had possibly two other points, but the one that I want to focus on right away is that in the discussion, although I liked what the team did that did yellow and green, they didn't have quite as much slack as they thought they did, because course development is separate from teaching a course. So there are lots of people who can teach a course. There aren't so many people who can develop a course. And so developing the course that they were going to use to train the other team so they could break up that huge thing. That really
John, we asked Paula about that and got told that was not something we had.
That's not part of this game.
It was outside our budget.
I'm just gonna say that's outside the realms of this game.
Well,
nope, calling a flag on the play. Calling a flag on the play.
Well,
yeah, no, we're actually going to have all the cross training is actually going to be done by reverse engineering, and luckily we do excellent documentation at this company. So like when people go in the code, it's it's documented well, it's easy to read. So yeah.
Here's what it is. They're going to hire me to do that, and it's already developed, and there we go.
Okay, I didn't realize we had magical people in the audience. All right.
Excellent.
All of us are magical.
We are. And I'm noticing that we are magically about to bump into our time box. So I want to take a moment to first off thank all of you for hanging out and diving in and getting your hands all dirty and making the maps and making the schedules. And also want to give a big shout out to Seasoned, who helped develop these tools. And yeah, could not have done it without Seasoned. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Come on back next month. Doing it all again. And if you haven't already, a lot of you have, but if you haven't come to hang out with us Monday afternoons, every Monday at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time, I hold an open office hour, and folks drop in and ask their questions and get answers. And the general rule these days is Chris answers last. And it turns out that leads to much richer discussion because there's so many really brilliant people who show up.